All right, let's talk about Bhangarh Fort in Rajasthan. By day, it's this absolutely magnificent 16th century ruin. Beautiful, right? But the second the sun goes down, it transforms into India's most infamous, terrifying ghost town. Now, in this explainer, we aren't just going to sit around recounting campfire stories. We're actually going to use real science and real history to uncover exactly what is lurking in those shadows. Just take a look at this official warning. This isn't some creepy prop put up by superstitious locals to scare tourists. This is strictly mandated by the Archaeological Survey of India. And honestly, the lore surrounding it is terrifying. Local legends tell the story of three friends who actually decided to ignore this very warning. They snuck past the guards to spend the night in the pitch-black fort. According to the tale, one of the guys slipped and fell into an old dry well, getting pretty badly hurt. His friends managed to pull him out and frantically rushed him to the hospital. But before they could make it, their car inexplicably crashed, killing all three of them instantly. And locals whisper that it wasn't an accident. It was the fort extracting the ultimate price for breaking its most sacred rule. Now, I want you to really picture these sprawling ruins. At its absolute peak in the 1500s, this was a massive, thriving city with over 9,000 homes, a bustling bazaar, and a towering 7-story palace. But today, every single house is entirely missing its roof. The stone walls are mostly intact, but the roofs are just gone. And the locals claim that whenever someone tries to build a new roof over these walls, it instantly collapses. It's left the place looking like a completely desolate ghost town.
So how exactly did a thriving city become a desolate wasteland? Well, local folklore gives us two really chilling answers. On one side, we have the tale of Baba Balunath. He was an ascetic who lived on the hill before the fort was even built. He allowed the construction, but with one strict condition. The shadow of the fort must never, ever fall upon his dwelling. Years later, an arrogant prince expanded the palace to 7 stories, the shadow hit the ascetic's home, and his rage instantly cursed the city to ruin. But on the other side, we have an even darker tale. Enter Tantric Singya, a black magician who is completely obsessed with the beautiful Princess Ratnavati. He tried to trap her by bewitching her perfume into a love potion, but the clever princess caught onto the trick and smashed the bottle onto a massive boulder. The spell caused the boulder to literally roll over and crush the dark magician. And with his dying breath, Singya cursed the entire city, declaring everyone would die and no soul would ever see rebirth.
And that fear certainly didn't die with the ancient history. Modern encounters reported by completely terrified tourists and film crews are everywhere. People claim to hear women crying in the dark, the sound of glass bangles breaking, and these chilling, hyena-like screams echoing through the empty ruins. Even Bollywood hasn't escaped the paranoia. During the shooting of the film Karan Arjun, an actress reportedly danced as if she was possessed, and directors of another film experienced sudden, totally inexplicable brake failures on their cars. But honestly, the most disturbing tale comes from a journalist. His scooter just died in the pitch black right outside the fort. Out of nowhere, a stranger appeared, started the scooter without even touching the engine, and simply whispered, "They want you." I mean, chills, right? Okay, but before we completely buy into the curses, let's hit pause and look at the actual historical record. And here is where the story takes a wild, Scooby-Doo style twist. Princess Ratnavati, Tantric Singya, Baba Balunath, there is absolutely zero verified historical record that any of them ever existed. Actually, scratch that, there isn't just a lack of records. Nobody even knows whose daughter this supposed princess even was. No inscriptions, no contemporary documents, nothing. These foundational characters, the ones upon which all of Bhangarh's ghostly reputation is built, are pure folklore. They're just stories passed down from generation to generation, getting a little more dramatic with every single retelling. So, if the ghosts aren't real, why do so many normal, completely rational people feel pure terror when they step inside? To understand that, we have to turn to the science of fear. Back in the 1980s, a British engineer named Vic Tandy was working late in his lab. Suddenly, he felt a cold sweat, overwhelming anxiety, and even saw a gray, shadowy figure out of the corner of his eye. He was terrified. He thought the lab was genuinely haunted. But the next day, he made a stunning discovery. The true culprit? A newly installed extractor fan was vibrating at exactly 19 hertz. The moment he turned that fan off, the ghost just vanished. Which brings us to a fascinating biological phenomenon called infrasound. These are sound waves below 20 hertz. Your ears literally cannot hear them, but your body physically feels them as vibrations. This incredibly low frequency directly triggers feelings of dizziness, deep anxiety, and a profound, creepy sense that someone is standing right behind you. And here is the kicker for Bhangarh. The wind blowing through those crumbling stone structures, combined with the fact that Bhangarh sits in seismic zone 4, an area prone to minor continuous earth tremors, acts as a massive, naturally occurring generator for this exact fear frequency. But sound isn't the only trick our environment plays on us. We also have to talk about suggestibility. In 2008, Goldsmiths University in London conducted the Haunt Project. They put 79 people in an empty, plain white room. No spooky decor whatsoever. They hid devices generating infrasound and electromagnetic fields and simply asked participants how they felt. Over 20% felt a presence, and 8% felt outright terror. But the absolute shocker? The researchers found that people experienced these exact same terrifying feelings even when the hidden devices were turned completely off. The real driver was purely suggestibility. In India, there's a brilliant saying, "Be kol bhoot banana," making a ghost out of fear. When you're primed by YouTube videos and campfire legends to expect a ghost, your brain physically manifests that exact fear. Add to that a little something called pareidolia. This is the psychological phenomenon where the human brain is evolutionarily hardwired to perceive familiar patterns, especially human faces in completely random shapes. It's exactly why people thought they saw a human face in that famous 1976 photo of Mars. So picture this. When you are walking through the jagged roofless ruins of Bhangarh at twilight, your brain takes the random shadows of crumbling pillars and automatically, desperately pieces them together to form ghostly figures hiding in the dark corners. When you put it all together, the big mystery kind of vanishes. Every single paranormal claim can be logically mapped straight back to a scientific reality. That feeling of being watched, that's infrasound. Those shadowy figures darting between the ruins, pareidolia. This is exactly why when the late paranormal investigator Gaurav Tarari actually spent a night in the fort with thermal cameras and audio recorders, he concluded definitively there are no ghosts here. He noted that the only things you're going to find at night are monkeys, peacocks, panthers, and hyenas. Which, of course, naturally leads us to ask a very important question. If there are no ghosts, and if it's literally all just wind and psychology, why on earth does the Archaeological Survey of India have a giant signboard strictly banning entry after sunset? Doesn't that prove there is something supernatural going on? Well, actually, no. The reality is far more grounded, and frankly, a lot more physically dangerous. The government warning is strictly an administrative safety notice. Bhangarh was declared a protected monument back in 1951. The structures are decaying, and in the pitch black, a collapsing wall or an old hidden dry well is a lethal hazard. But even more dangerously, Bhangarh is located just 50 kilometers from the Sariska Tiger Reserve. At night, the ruins are completely reclaimed by wildlife. We're talking nocturnal leopards, macaque monkeys shaking the trees, and vocal hyenas. And remember those reports of crying women and screams? If you listen to the natural call of a wild hyena in the dark, it sounds exactly like a human crying out in distress. So, if dark magic didn't destroy Bhangarh, what did? The true history here is a tragedy of a completely different kind. It wasn't ruined by a magician's curse overnight. Built in 1573, it slowly lost political importance when the nearby city of Ajapgarh was built. Then, in 1720, it was conquered by Savajay Singh. But the final fatal blow didn't come until 1783, when a catastrophic El Niño climate event triggered the devastating Chalisa famine across North India. And this wasn't just a minor drought, it was an apocalyptic famine. The heartbreaking reality is that the 9,000 homes of Bhangarh were abandoned because desperate families simply had no choice. Facing a severe, unrelenting lack of food and water, the entire population had to flee just to survive. Bhangarh wasn't destroyed by an evil spell. It was abandoned due to political decline and a deadly, devastating climate disaster. So, knowing all that, why do the myths survive so stubbornly today? Why do we culturally prefer the curse over the climate? It really comes down to human psychology. First, our brains just crave narratives and villains. A drought happened and people moved away is historically accurate, sure, but it feels boring and random. A dark magician cursed the city gives us a clear villain and a satisfying sense of order. Second, it's about money. The most haunted tag brings millions of tourists, fueling the entire local economy.
And third, the modern social media landscape demands viral, spooky content. A vlog about an architectural ruin just won't get as many clicks as a video claiming you survived a night with a ghost.
Marie Curie once said, "Nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood." The shadows of Bhangarh aren't hiding demons, they're hiding history, wildlife, and the fascinating quirks of our own psychology. But it does make you wonder. The next time you feel a chill down your spine in an empty room, is it just infrasound? Or is your brain simply giving you the ghost story you secretly want to believe?